Welcome to the Solar Coaster, a renewable energy themed talk show right here in lovely Maui County. Alrighty. Might get a rooster in the background, one or two, but we'll just rock and roll, okay?
It wouldn't be a Hawaii podcast without it.
Exactly. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Aloha and welcome to the Solar Coaster live show here in Makawao, Maui. And I got a great friend, a longtime friend and a guest here, Mr. Will Giese from Solar Ray. How you doing today, Will?
I'm good. Aloha, Josh. How are you?
Awesome. We're doing really well. It is January 8th, and we're looking forward to the 22nd and 23rd for the first ever RE Plus Hawaii in Waikiki at the Alohilani Resort. And I just got off a planning session, and really good to see the content is remarkable. The participants are real experts in energy in Hawaii and throughout the world. And of course, we have all these this happens to be happening at a time where there's so much movement in energy from the utility, from things that are happening with the PUC, you name it. We're just chock full of content to discover, try to understand, the future of energy here in Hawaii. So it's an exciting time, my friend.
Yeah, Hawaii is always the bleeding edge. My colleague and friend, Robert Harris, who used to work for Sunrun, said, Hawaii's a postcard from the future for renewable energy. And I've always believed that. I still believe it. And it's interesting now we're talking about RE Plus because you might not remember this, or maybe you will, but I think the first time I came on your show was to promote the HSEA's first ever Solar Expo, which obviously is not RE Plus. It's a separate thing from the state association, but it's kind of, I guess, time is a flat circle, it seems.
That's great. I actually do remember. I remember it. I remember specifically, I think we might have been doing AM FM at the time at Kauai Radio. And we went over to Oahu. Was it at the Aloha Tower? Is that where it was?
It was 2 years in a row. Great location. But now my
cool.
colleague and friend, Rocky Mold, who runs the HSCA now, has taken it over and did a great job only a few months ago. So
I went to that one too.
Yeah, I know.
One too, and it really has grown. And the mayor spoke at that last HSEA Expo, and it was at that location right next to the airport. You could almost walk there from the airport, but it was a little bit tough. So you take the Uber over, and it was a great show. So HSEA is strong and making real, taking care of the industry and doing an amazing thing out here. I think that was my takeaway. I was blown away by the energy at that particular show. So we're going to be talking about some fun stuff today, and we wanted to reconnect since you're a Solar Coaster alum from way back when, and now you're calling in from the East Coast though. You're in Virginia, right? What are you doing out there?
That's right. I live in beautiful Richmond, Virginia. I've been here since 2021, and at the end of 2020 I left Hawaii. Unfortunately, I got a new job with the Solar Energy Industries Association, which is very well affiliated with RE Plus. They're the kind of main trade association that helps put that show on, and I ran the Southeastern United States as their state affairs director for many years with SIA, and one of the requirements of my job was to either live in DC or live in the South, and I picked Richmond. So now I live there. But earlier, kind of the middle of last year, I left SIA to come work at the Solar Ray Corporation, where I work now, with my friend and now my boss, Brian Gold, who is the CEO and president over there.
All right. That's quite a solar coaster history in the renewable energy industry you got going on right there, from Hawaii to the mainland to SIA to the kind of seat of all things, the trade industry of renewable energies in the United States, onto this great company, which I understand has some really powerful subsidiaries or companies that are owned by Solar Ray. You mentioned Inter-Island out here, which is one of the dominant distributors, right?
That's true. So Solar Ray was 1975. For those of you solar industry alums who know, in Hawaii, it was started by Cully Judd. Inter-Island Solar Supply has been one of those big companies there. We're 100% employee owned, and we now 100% own several subsidiaries. We also own Sun Earth and AET. which together are the two largest manufacturers of solar thermal flat plate collectors and
Yeah.
proud recipients of the domestic content adder within the Inflation Reduction Act. One of
The
the few companies who does receive it. So
because it's manufactured domestically. Is that what you mean?
yeah, that's right. And it's manufactured from, at least on the Sunner side, we buy our aluminum domestically as well to build a lot of our frames and things. So
Oh, wow.
Sunner's facility is based in Fontana, California, and then AET's facility is based in south of Jacksonville and Green Cove Springs. But they're both domestic producers of that good, clean American energy content.
I'll tell you what, man, the solar thermal collector, that is kind of the granddad when I think about the industry, right? And I mean, out here in Hawaii, it was a building requirement, right? And I
Still
think it still
is.
is, right? Still is. And it's funny, my home, when it was being built, a friend of mine built it and I bought it from him, but he put in a on-demand, like a really nice on-demand gas system up top. It's in the attic. And then he realized he had to, for some reason, he had thought he had an exemption, but he had to put in a solar thermal. So I have a solar thermal system with electric backup, and I have this conking like on-demand, super cool thing up top. I'll never be out of hot water, man. I'll tell you what.
I'm probably the reason for that, actually, because my claims to fame at the HSCA was we took legal action with the Sierra Club against the Hawaii State Energy Office for distributing those variances for instant
Oh,
gas
wow.
too
There you
judiciously,
go. It
and we
was
won.
you. It was you.
It was me. So sorry, I'm not sorry.
That's all right. I got extra hot water when I need it. So, anyway, it's great to have you on, my friend. You're really a wealth of knowledge, and your background's amazing in this industry. And of course, we're excited about what's happening with RE Plus Hawaii. This has been something that
Yeah.
has been in the works for a few years now. Literally sat down with Stephen and Gary and the sets guys maybe 3 years ago here in Maui and said, wouldn't it be cool to do an RE Plus in Hawaii? And they're like, yeah, this is great. Let's do it. And then finally, a full arc, and we're here. It's a couple of weeks away. Just so happens to be coinciding with all of these movements and energy. But I know that you've got something really important happening at this event or alongside of this event. So let's jump right into that, because I can't wait to see this fundraiser, this activity that you have going on that second day. I think it's the 23rd, right?
Yeah, it's the last day of RE Plus. So RE Plus, their program ends, I think, around noon, and then they've got a few extra events at the location in Waikiki going until around 2. And then Inter Island Solar Supply, one of our companies, is hosting a surf competition and fundraiser called Surf and Solar, starting at 3:30 p.m. at the Waikai Wave Pool facility in Eva Beach. And we will be busing people or shuttling people from the RE Plus location in Waikiki back and forth if you don't have your own transportation or don't want to pay for an Uber or something. But basically, this is kind of a dream realized for me. So many years ago, I worked at Inter Island Solar Supply. One of the first things I did ever was work at the counter selling
All
equipment to
right.
people. And, I
Nice.
noticed that, every truck that would come in, especially for local Hawaii companies, would have, solar collectors on them. They'd have solar modules, inverters, and then on the side, there'd be one or two boards. And so I always wanted to have a surf competition for the industry because that just made sense to me. And then my boss, Brian, hired me and then shares my affinity for that idea and decided to make it a reality. And so we rented out this facility. We're having it that evening. We've got live music, food, and 100% of the proceeds from that event are going to split evenly between the Hawaii Solar Energy Association and Footprint Project, which is building a lot of the stuff on the renewable energy side for Maui recovery for Lahaina fire victims and folks in the upcountry and stuff like that. And so we're going to give that money away to them, and hopefully it'll be a really rocking time, and we'll get to see people eat it in the wave pool and win big, I hope.
That's a lot of fun, man. That's a lot of fun. And it's at the wave pool too. And the wave pool is not something that's been around for a while. It just opened like last year or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't exist when I moved out of Hawaii, so it was surprising when I I thought we were just going to go to like a beach or something, and then
Yeah.
Brian was like, "No, let's go. Let's like rent out this
Heck
facility."
yeah. Heck
Yeah,
yeah.
and it looks awesome. I've never been there personally, so I'm super excited to see it.
Yeah.
So yeah, bring your board and come out.
Yeah, and it's so true that that thing you said about how solar guys in Hawaii have a board on their truck right next to like the ladder rack usually, or sticking
Oh
out the
yeah.
back of the bed. And I think the idea is always, if you're, I know in Maui, it's the guys would be coming back from jobs and be like, oh, I'm going to go and jump in the water for a while and do some surfing or going out, or, and yeah, I'm guilty of it myself. In the stand up world, of course,
Why
nothing
not?
to, not, no big waves for Mr. Porter, but that's that's a tried and true thing out here. So very good, man. I'm so glad that you put that together, and I'm really looking forward to being a part of that. How can if people want to learn more about this fundraiser, how can they find it? Is it online? Is it on your website?
Yeah, it's online. So if you just type in surf in the letter N and solar in Hawaii, you can find it. I think RE Plus's website has a link to it, and they've sent out a lot of stuff. On Twitter, it's on there. If you go on any of the social medias and look at Inter Island Solar Supply, you can see it posted on there. The HSCA's website, hsca.org, has a link right on their front of their website to this event. I think Footprint has put some stuff out about it as well. So there's lots of ways to find out about it. You can also just email, I think it's sns@solarsupply.com. So Surf and Solar, SNS at solarsupply.com if you want to learn more. But yeah, pretty easy to find. I think if you just kind of Google Surf and Solar 2024 Hawaii, you'll find it.
How perfect is that, man? I got to tell you, it's what a great way to wrap up RE Plus Hawaii, is to go out and just do it, have a lot of fun, hang out with all the and Solar guys are such good people, So it's
Yeah.
going to be a really fun collection of people, and at this wave pool, that's hysterical, man.
Yeah, so I
Can't
mean,
even
we just
imagine it.
actually finalized the whole. So we're right now we're kind of reaching out to folks to be in competition. So we're gonna have, I think it's one, two, three different heats, a loser's bracket, a winner's bracket, and a party wave. So we've got
Party
the
way.
whole facility rented out between 3:30 and 8:30,
Oh,
and
it's
pretty
gonna
much
be
the wave pool is going to be
bonkers.
open the whole time. Yeah, it's gonna be sick. I'm super excited for it.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. Well, I can't wait to be a part of that, and then to join that and see everybody, see who's got the chops, and out there on the waves. But hey, let's talk a little bit about RE Plus Hawaii. I mean, it's kind of a really unique time, like we said, here in Hawaii. And what are your expectations, or what are you excited about for this event? Do you have anything that's kind of in your mind that's right up top of mind?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I think it's kind of proof positive that Hawaii is really the bleeding edge of solar. That RE Plus is, at least on the mainland, is the premier kind of event for the solar industry. I think in Las Vegas last year at their main event, they had over 40,000 people go,
A
and
lot
I've
of
been going
heads.
to RE Plus for 10 years. I mean, it's bonkers. So the fact that they're coming to Hawaii, I think, is great. I think they've got a good program that is really looking at some of the unique things that are going on in Hawaii. One of the biggest ones, obviously, is distributed energy resources, rooftop solar, the stuff that you and I have been working in for many, many years. And part of the reason that that's such a big part of that program, and part of the reason it's such a big part of Hawaii, is because most of the renewable energy that's produced in the state comes from those systems. And so it's really important to kind of realize how important the industry here is, of most of which is really like locally owned and operated. Those systems have been installed by local companies that are based in
Yep.
Hawaii.
Yep.
And also, we have some of the highest, I think, if not the highest, residential connection rates for energy storage products in the entire United States.
Yeah.
I think I might be pulling this statistic from somewhere, but I think back in 2017 or 2018, almost 90% of solar systems have some amount of storage connected to them on the
I've heard
residential
I've heard
side.
similar numbers. Yeah, I've heard similar
Yeah, I
numbers.
mean, it's just like it's nuts, those rates. And you see things happening in like California that is going through NIM 3.0, which is a really storage focused market. And you see things like in New York or Florida, which is exploring new tariff things, or Texas. And really, I think Hawaii is kind of, we're living in that future. Now, I think the open question at RE Plus, and thankfully, I think the program reflects this kind of collection of policymakers and minds and opinions, is whether the structure that was ordered in December last year by the PUC is going to be that structure that meets these future requirements to get to 2045, right? So that'll be interesting. I'll be looking to a lot of those policymakers and speakers, industry folks, folks like you and me to see what their opinion is now that that order has dropped and what's happening. Plus, there's lots of other things like performance-based rate making is starting to get into its first iteration, and we're starting to kind of see what that means for Hawaii. We're well on the path of the RPS. We've got community-based renewable energy that I think is always worth talking about, GEMS, and energy efficiency. My company, Solar Thermal, we have some of the highest amounts of residential solar thermal in the US per capita is in Hawaii. And that is reflected, I think, in people's energy bills and where all that comes from. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. Plus, looming over all of this, I think, is the tragedy of the Maui fires in Lahaina. Probably better than anybody else, Josh, what that means for the people of Maui, but I think also what it means for the energy economy, what it means for MECO and Hawaiian Electric, and what it means for the state, I think is definitely top of everybody's mind. And so I think that will be part of the program as well. So no shortage of content, especially energy related content. So I'm excited to see what people have to say, and hopefully there will be conversations worth having, right? It's a good forum for it.
I think there's going to be really robust dialogue about what's going on in this industry. It's kind of like the focal point of so much over so many years in my mind. And when we think about energy out here, and I just kind of, what I like about these types of shows with a guy like yourself, Will, is that we can kind of really just kind of shoot around some ideas and speak kind of from the heart as well. But when we think about utility scale, I think there was this, I tend to think about policy being set and the RPS, and then this kind of forward leading environment that is Hawaii, and even the utility getting awards for all the movement over the years, and then coming to a place where we thought we were making a lot more progress with RFP of these RFPs, right? RFP phase 1, 2, and 3 now recently awarded, and RFP phase 2, so much of it fell out. And then we ask ourselves, well, what was that? Was that situational? Was that pandemic? Was that inflation? Was that a combination of all those things? Was it general problems, or siting issues were another major thing that we were dealing with out here on utility scale? And then I ask myself, well, what does that mean for the other sectors? What does that mean for microgrid? I'll probably kind of come back to that, but like CNI microgrid, could that really take off because the costs, because the numbers are, as technology evolves, as demand charge reduction, as electrification of transpo, as sophisticated thermal heat exchange systems, as well as general solar plus batteries, all that kind of like starts to get more and more aggressive in pricing and capabilities. Does this CNI microgrid really just ramp up? And then on the other side, the residential side, which is where we live a lot in that space, so much has happened over the like last few years, even certainly post NAM 2015-ish forward, from the Powerwall, early Powerwall days, all the way up through what's happening now with so many solar plus battery systems. But not even just that. The thing that gets me really jazzed is electrification of transpo. And we start thinking about integrated EV charging, and then bidirectionality. And how far are we really from that? Because in my mind, bidirectionality, we just had Tesla say in an earnings report, kind of casually dropped, oh yeah, they're all going to be, all our Teslas are going to be bidirectional by 2025, by the way. Right. So if that's the case, my friend, what does that mean for this environment? I mean, it really could change the power dynamic, somewhat between the homeowner and the utility itself. If you're in a place where you have not only robust energy production, but also robust, I mean, like, a huge amount of energy storage as per the the electric vehicle in your driveway, does that change the entire conversation? I mean, I don't know. There's a lot here, my friend.
Wax poetic too much. The big question is, how does Hawaii meet this, and is it going to strive a path for essentially like every other state in the United States to either do it the same or do it better, right? And so I think Hawaii again is like the bleeding edge for this. I mean, the EV part is fascinating to me because just think about how much additional electric load that's going to add, and where it's being added geographically, like not just at people's homes, but in businesses. Like imagine if you have so many EV chargers that are in all those parking structures and Waikiki or something like that. Every single one of them, you have all this load just right in that central
Transmission,
area.
yeah.
How can it be met? Yeah. And so you have this kind of microcosm of transmission and interconnection issues like you would on the mainland, where, probably the main issue for utility scale solar development on the mainland is either siting or it's interconnection and transmission, right?
Right.
That's not untrue in Hawaii. I mean, interconnection is, whether it's residential solar systems or huge utility scale solar systems, is the kicker. How do we figure it out? Who pays for it? How quickly can it happen, right? I remember when I was working at the HSCA on the CBRE docket back in, I think maybe 2018, we interviewed a company in, I want to say it was Molokai, or an organization that was looking to build a CBRE project, a community solar
Oh yeah.
project there. And they pulled out because the interconnection process was taking so long. And
Yeah.
at the point that they finally got told that, well, it's going to cost this much to interconnect your system, they'd already been down the development path a significant amount. And then they're getting hit with this huge interconnection bill.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot have that happen that way for any types of projects, whether it's a small residential program where you're like the last person on a secondary circuit to install, and now you have to pay for the upgrade, or you have these huge utility scale projects that take, I don't know, 3 years to interconnect. That is not a feasible timeline for a developer. So I think, storage is part of the solution. Energy efficiency, obviously, I think is part of that solution. And then the way that you do electricity and electrification and generation is part of that solution. In Hawaii, it has often been the case that if you can afford to do solar, or if you can find a way to do solar on your roof and you own your own roof, you should be able to do that.
Yeah.
How do we reach other people? How do we reach, I mean, I never owned a house in Hawaii. How do we reach people like me who are living in apartments? Then how do you also build enough generation to meet all this load? And how do you do it quickly so that you don't have situations like the AES plant, the coal plant in Oahu, closing down, and then this mad rush to try and interconnect a huge battery and solar storage project, and then having to meet that gap with battery bonus, right? I mean, that was part of the impetus for that program, was using those systems and their functions on the rooftop level to meet this need that wasn't going to be met otherwise by the loss of this large coal-fired generator that, was statutorily required to end. And that's very deep in the weeds, right? But, these are all like little, I mean, they're not little problems, but they're all very distinct and unique problems that exist all over the place. We have to solve all of them. We have to solve them quickly. And then the last specter that exists here is everybody's ever increasing electric rate.
Yeah.
Right. And so that rate just keeps going up. Right. And as it keeps going up, the economic incentive for a consumer becomes so great that they might just otherwise do literally anything to avoid having to pay that amount of money every month in kilowatt hours, right? For instance, I lived in an apartment. I lived in a 550 square foot apartment for, basically my entirety of 6 years of living in Hawaii, the same place, no air conditioning, louvered windows, up in Mililani in the mountains. And my electric bill was still like $200 a month.
Oh yeah, easy to be $200. Yeah, and then
insane,
in a very
right?
small environment without AC, it's amazing, right? That it's that.
And now I live in Richmond. I have a house, thank God, and it's like a nice house. And it's cold, and I'm running my heat all the time, and I don't think I've ever broken $200 a month for electric bills one time at this house, right?
Wow.
So that something's got to give a little bit, and there needs to be, I think, too, a little bit of give and take on the part of the utility, on the part of the commission, and a part of the industry, to kind of find the way forward. My fear is that, that give and take is unequal, or it's not happening in a way that makes the industry thrive in the way that it needs to meet these demands. Because ultimately, the utility by itself, or the state by itself, or the industry by itself are not going to meet these huge, audacious goals that we have for 2045. They have to work in Congress together, right? You cannot survive without all three of them. So, yeah, I think it's a big question. I think about it all the time. I think that's probably why I get paid to do my job. Yeah.
Yeah,
So we'll
I tend to, I tend to think that we're always on the cusp of this kind of great movement, and I don't know, maybe that type of optimism is necessary to be part of the solar coaster, from 10 years ago. Oh, it's going to be great. So, whoa, we went through a lot. So right now we're in this kind of really pivotal time. And I tend to lean towards this idea that that technology can save us. But at the end of the day, it looks like the technology is moving along really well, and we're seeing, from my perspective, we're seeing challenges on some of the other sides, like the business relationships, the community relationships, how we actually get things moved forward through policy. All of that seems to be challenging. But it's been great to talk to you, my friend. Always, you got so much experience in this industry, and I always learn a little bit something new from you. So I really appreciate it. I'm stoked that you put together that the fundraiser too. And what was, just one more time for everybody that's listening, if they want to check it out, if they want to go, they want to sponsor, they want to be a part of it, just one more time, the website, please.
Yeah, just Google Surf and Solar, or go to surfandsolar.org, hsca.org/surf and solar. You can find it any of those ways. Hey, we're still looking for sponsors, corporate sponsors or individual sponsors, or if you just want to sign up on the Eventbrite and come to the event. Again, 100% of those proceeds goes to benefit equally the HSCA and Footprint Project's work on Maui. So come out 23rd at Waikai in Eva Beach, and we're looking forward to seeing you there. And thanks, Josh, for having me on. I love talking to you, and I think you're doing really good work, and I'm really happy to be kind of part of it.
Appreciate that, my friend. This has been Will Giese from Solar Ray and from a bunch of other great organizations. And you can come and see him and us all out at the Alohilani Resort and the wave pool for the fundraiser on the second day. It's just a couple of weeks away. I think we're 2 weeks out or something, on the 22nd
Weeks
and
out.
23rd in Waikiki. So whether you're coming in from, whether you're a solar installer in Kauai, Big Eye, Maui, wherever, and you're thinking about hopping over, you definitely got to do it, because what's better than coming? I think there's like 40 exhibitors in the expo hall, sold out like in a flash when it came on. A lot of great attendees. Everybody in energy is going to be there in Hawaii. Or if you're on the mainland and you're thinking, hey, you know what? I think it's really important for my business to send me to Waikiki in January, then I want to encourage you to do that and be a part of our experience out here. So thanks again, Will Giese, Solar Ray. Really appreciate you, my friend, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.
Thanks, man. You too.
All right. Aloha, folks.